Oh, hey, it's Wisdom Wednesday time. Sorry, I got a little carried away and was taking a little cat nap there. If you've tuned into Wisdom Wednesday before, you know exactly what we're up to here at Austin Dental Spa. I'm Mark Sweeney, the founder of Austin Dental Spa, and as you know, if you've tuned in before, every month we have a theme, and the theme for this month was December Dreamin', because it kicked in a couple of different things, not only dreaming like sleep, but dreaming like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? And particularly right here at the end of the year, what do I dream about in 2025? Because as you may have figured out, this is the last Wisdom Wednesday of 2024, because next Wednesday is Christmas and the next Wednesday is New Year's Day. And so we will not be putting together another Wisdom Wednesday until that end of the first full week of January. So it'll be January 8th. So I'll see y'all then for a good start to the new year. We've already got our theme picked out for the month of January next year, and a pretty big year planned. But let's finish out 2024 with a really great episode of Wisdom Wednesday. And today I think we're going to hit that target, because we're going to talk about sleep and how the quality of sleep or the lack of quality of sleep can affect how old you feel or how young you feel, conversely. And this is actually scientifically based. It was done by a university in Stockholm, Sweden, the Karolinska Institute, and the psychologists at this institute in Sweden actually studied a pretty good number of people. They did 2 different studies, and both had dovetailed reports on how that sleep affected people. The first study was volunteers, 429 volunteers aged 18 to 70. Now, as you know from listening through the past year to Wisdom Wednesdays, a lot of studies only had like 1 or 2 people, and a lot of the ones over in Asia, particularly Japan, we quoted a few studies that had, a dozen people in the study. Well, this one's got a pretty significant number, almost 500 people, 429, aged 18 to 70 years old. So a pretty broad spectrum of the community. Now, I don't know that much about Swedish people and how different their culture is than the United States, but I know that it stays dark over there a lot during the winter time, and they didn't say whether the study was done in the summer or the winter, which I guess would be other things that would be nice to know. But here's the results of the study. They found that for each day of poor sleep, which in their self-rated, the participants in the study self-rated whether they had a good night's sleep or a bad night's sleep, and the scientists conducting the study said if they got less than 4 hours of sleep, they considered that a bad night. So 4 hours or less of poor sleep, and the average participant self-rated afterwards, they felt 3 to 4 months older. Those who had no bad nights, that they actually didn't say that they had good nights, but they had no bad nights, they felt nearly 6 years younger than their true age. So 2 bad nights of poor sleep and people felt 4 to 6 years older, and no bad nights of sleep and they felt younger, 4 years younger. So that was study number 1. Study number 2, also in Sweden, was 186 volunteers, so a little smaller than the first study and a little closer in age, 18 to 46, whereas the first study was 18 to 70. This one, they asked people how old they felt after 2 nights of plentiful sleep, meaning they slept 9 hours. Boy, that's a weekend, one day out of every weekend that I try to stay in bed for 8. This is 9 solid hours of sleep. And then they rated, like the first study, people that got less than 4 hours of sleep in a night for 2 straight nights. And their results were similar to the first study. After 2 nights of restricted sleep, less than 4 hours, the participants felt on average, similar to the first study, 4.4 years older than their actual age. The other study was 3 years older. And the feeling of older was also linked to feeling sleepier. So those two things kind of go hand in hand when you get less than 4 hours of sleep. And they also, I thought this was an interesting one, they found that there were people that considered themselves night people. So they stayed up late and then they got up late, as opposed to the morning people who went to bed early and got up early. And they found that night people typically felt older than their true age, even if they got plenty of sleep, whereas the morning people typically felt much younger than their actual age. So keep that in mind if you're one of those irritating morning people. I'm one of those more of a night person, but I don't feel my age. So I'm atypical for this study. I would have changed their numbers up some. But the psychoneuroimmunologist that was in charge of the study said, if you want to feel young, the most important thing you can do is protect your sleep. Because like in the first study, in the second study, people rated that they felt up to a decade younger if they got a good night's sleep on a regular basis. So my health tip this month, or this week, is going to be, we're not going to talk about dreams like dreaming when you're asleep. We're talking about 2025 and your dreams of how you want to, where you want to be in your life this point in time in 2025. So if you're thinking about December 2025, here's what the scientists say when you're thinking about big dreams, like I want to be living in Italy, or, I want to be self-employed. Those are big dreams depending on where you're starting from right now. But here's what they found. Positive relationships with others, self-acceptance, autonomy, meaning you're kind of in charge of your destiny, environmental mastery, meaning you feel like you're in charge of being able to decide what you want to do instead of somebody else holding you down or family telling you, no, you can't do that. Personal growth and life purpose. If you've got those 7 things, then it's going to make it more likely that you're going to achieve your big dreams. And secondly, the scientists that study these kind of things say, savor the process. Don't just salivate over the big dreams while you're thinking about it and say, wow, how great would it be to live in Italy. But realize that it takes time to put together, depending on where you are right now. I actually talked to my business coach this morning. I talk to every other week for an hour on Wednesday mornings. I have a coaching session with my professional business coach, and they're actually considering moving to Italy. But in preparation, they've got their house in Barton Creek on the market right now. And they have done things like this before. They've been traveling over to Europe, and they went to Portugal thinking that that might be their spot, and they just didn't feel the vibe. But they love Florence, Italy. And so they're actually renting an Airbnb for 3 months next year in 2025 in the summer, and they're going to live there and try to do their coaching virtually. I don't care where he is, as long as we both got Wi-Fi. It doesn't matter where in the world he is. We can have the same conversation that we would have if he was sitting right in the same room with me. So it's going to be fun. But my point is, they've already taken research steps to get them closer to the goal. They didn't just think of this last week and say, hey, let's go rent an Airbnb in Italy, and they haven't even put their house on the market or prepared for it all. They've been planning this for several years. So savor the process. Don't just focus on the end result and then be disappointed in November next year when you're no closer to Italy than you are right now. work the process, write a plan out, and savor the process of trying to achieve those big dreams. So that's how we're going to end 2024 with the last Wisdom Wednesday of this year. Dream big and savor the process. And I will see you on January 8th in 2025. Hope you have a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and a Happy New Year.